All right, welcome back to Off the Tap. This week is episode 87, and we're doing 3 up, 3 down from the Texas Leaguer Brewing Company.
So yet again, we get lucky kind of in our arbitrary timing of beverages. We're going to talk today a lot about baseball season, hopefully, because I mean, that could be hours and hours of discussion. But a bunch of firsts here. First off, I don't think we've ever had a Texas Leaguer,
No,
right?
we have not. We have not had a Texas
Okay.
Leaguer.
So H-Town proud, Missouri City, I guess. I'm sure that they would take offense to that, as well as like true Houstonians, but it's still H-Town. So
Yeah.
Missouri City and Texas Leaguer is legitimately the brewing company. For some reason, I thought it was the name of the beer. I didn't realize Three Up, Three Down was the name of the beer.
I did as well. When I purchased these, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I'll get this." And then I got them home and I went to Google the beer, right, to get the graphics and stuff for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's the brewery. There's a bunch of different beers by these people, all baseball related, obviously." So,
It gives me the I mean, because obviously it's old school baseball, but it gives me League of Their Own vibes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
like
does kind of.
this would, yeah, this would have been like a billboard for League of Their Own. It has like that color, like what do you, it's not pastel, but it's like faded color scheme. But
Yeah.
yeah, three down. You're gonna get into the stats here, but it is in also in fact, and this is weird too. The can doesn't allude to this, but it's an Imperial India or an Imperial IPA.
Yeah. Yeah, I again did not see that when I originally bought it. Not that it's really a problem. I enjoy an IPA here and there, but I didn't expect it to be an IPA based off the look of it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
because the other thing I'll say too is it is kind of like the old colors, right? Old colored look and
yeah.
whatnot, but they look like old baseball cards, like the logo.
Oh, they do. They do. Good
And
call.
you want to know how I figured that out because when I grabbed said graphic that I Googled or, previously mentioned,
Yeah.
I was editing it and I pulled it off and I was like, oh, that's a baseball card. That makes so much sense.
Ah,
It's
it
like an
does now that
old
you say it
baseball
out loud.
card. Remember, because they used to be
I
like
would,
old on like little cardboard, not like the new card, like the new card stuff, that like
yeah, they were like,
plastic. It was like cardboard back in the day.
yeah, like just card stock that was printed over. Like there wasn't a
Yeah.
glossy on it or anything.
Yeah.
Um, so a couple, I mean, first off, give us the stats here before we break in.
Oh yeah. So yes, this is an Imperial, I believe, double IPA actually. It coming in at 8.6 ABVs and 85 IBUs is what was listed online. So,
Well, I
I
don't
mean
have
that's pretty standard
IBUs.
for a double IPA. So,
Yeah, I don't have IBUs on the can, but 8.6 is the alcohol content. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a pour. Sniff test passes. I mean,
oh
that's
yeah.
a 85 at 8.6. I do enjoy some IPAs. Not a huge fan of the doubles, but I do enjoy IPAs. However, well, let me go ahead and pour first. And as I'm pouring,
Yeah.
I don't associate IPAs, especially a double, with baseball though.
Me either. That's why it throws me off a little bit. I like read it and I was like, "Oh, it's an IPA." Didn't think about that when I think baseball at all.
No, and I'm
So,
not saying that all beer has to be super light for baseball, because like
no,
I
no,
mean,
absolutely
obviously
not.
we do box, we do love streets, we do a bunch of different stuff while we're especially local. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just don't go. What would really set off? I'm gonna read through the can, but like, what would really set this 7 inning stretch off? A
N-
double IPA.
a nice crisp double IPA, baby.
Yeah, I
Ooh,
just don't think like I don't, that's not gonna pair well with the average ballpark dog. You know what I mean?
no, no. See, a double IPA for me is something that I'm not drinking while I'm eating
I
because
agree.
it's gonna be so heavy that I'm not gonna want to eat. You know what I mean?
U- Usually for me, when I've made the decision to drink IPAs, it's because that's the only thing that my body's gonna get for a period of time.
Yes, for hours at least.
For-
Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how rowdy, a couple of days, because I usually feel like great dog
Don't-
shit in the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah, it gets pretty bad. I can agree with that. You're right though. The smell wise, it does hit pretty well.
Um, so oh, I get it now. So it does make sense. I do like the branding, but before I give it a taste, three up, three down. It's the bottom of the ninth, and you need someone dependable to seal the victory. Like a reliable closer, you expect your Imperial IPA to be a strong option with an arsenal of different characteristics. Three up, three down is a lights out choice that steps up to the challenge. So basically, they're saying whenever you're sending it full send and you're gonna black out, you need something that gets the job done. You don't want to be worried like, am I gonna brown out and remember some of this, or am I gonna black out and just lose my job tomorrow? That's what you need the three up, three down for.
So you know what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're calling in sick for sure when you tie this bad boy on seven innings deep.
This is the closer for sure.
It's thick head. So, by the way, a little bit hazy. I don't know if you can see
Mm.
that. A little bit hazy, but great color. Look at the head, like a
Oh yeah,
custom made root
that's
beer.
that is nice.
This is
That's
the
very
epitome of
nice.
every single 1950s, 1960s soda house root beer place.
Yeah, that
Man.
like the place that makes their own root beer, own sodas.
In that, and the mug out front is just a massive mug, and there's like this foam flowing over the side. And it's like,
Yeah,
come get diabetes, one glass at a
yeah.
time.
And every now and then they run a special where they're doing a root beer float, and you can go in
Mm-hmm.
there and get a real beer glass full of root beer and ice cream. Oh yeah,
Did you give it a taste
those are the
already?
days. Oh yeah, I did.
Dude, um, I am actually very impressed so far. How do you feel? I don't want just first impressions. Don't give me the full download. Obviously, we got to wait an hour for that, but
Um, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I like it. It's a lot smoother than I anticipated. A lot
yeah,
smoother.
I thought it was gonna be so bitter that I was gonna be like, fuck, like having to pause after I took a sip before I started the conversation again. I feel it in my chest already.
Oh yeah, I feel it in
But
my chest. It's also a little. I don't know if this is a great way to describe it or not. You're gonna have to either agree or disagree, but kind of creamy a little bit.
yeah, not like what do you mean, like Guinness creamy?
No, no, no. Well, not that much, but
Okay.
that kind of, yeah, that similar feel, but not near as much.
I got you. Yeah. So it does as maybe just because of the alcohol content, but it lingers for sure after you take a sip. Like not in a bad way. I'm not like, oh god. Like I figured it was gonna be one of those ones where you take a sip and you're like, oh, I need to take another sip so that we've talked about this. I
Yeah,
need to take another sip so that the aftertaste doesn't stay in my mouth. It's not one of those. But it is delightfully drinkable,
yeah, it is.
which could be dangerous at
At
wine percent.
8.6, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. It does it all. Well, we'll get into the rest of it later, but yeah, it is surprisingly drinkable. Um, I've had a couple of double IPAs that I feel like this about though. Honestly,
I don't. I feel like the jump between an IPA. I mean, hell, I've had some IPAs where I'm like, good lord, I'm gonna have to chew that up before I swallow it.
Mm.
But the doubles are almost guaranteed, and I don't know if this one truly is. It doesn't say it on the can. Maybe we
It,
hit the old goog.
yeah. See, this it said on Untapped that it was an Imperial double IPA. I didn't. It's not on their website because they don't have it on tap.
Ah, I
And they
gotcha.
and they only have their beers on tap listed on their website. So,
What did you
uh,
you said 2017 is that's the founding date for Texas Leaguer?
yeah, that's what they say on their website here. It says established 2017. So listen,
I mean,
maybe the
how
Texas Leaguer is the Houston's good luck charm.
yeah, we
You
need to tie
know, we
that.
need to we need to keep these guys around. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
you say that. Listen, okay, so we did time this one right. Baseball is back. Let's go ahead and just dive into
Also,
it.
also real
Um,
quick, that this was not a coincidence. I planned this.
oh well, it's so crazy because we are terrible at planning. I usually both of us maybe, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So kudos for pulling this one over on me.
Yeah. Well, we didn't time our Easter one very well that we did talking about Peeps. We were a
Well,
week
I
early
mean,
on that one.
close. That's closer than
Hey,
normal.
hey,
Normal is like a
better,
month later.
yeah, better early than late, I guess, right? Um,
We should start pre-planning for 4th of July right now.
we'll
Otherwise, we're
miss it
never gonna
still.
make it.
We'll miss it still. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That's what we
But
do.
so baseball is back.
Baseball.
Baseball is back, and let's hope. I don't want to. I mean, obviously, we're watching the game right now. I don't want to jinx us by saying that maybe there's something in it because we only have 4 runs on the board in the bottom of the fourth, and this is normally where we start giving up 7 uncontested runs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't speak too soon.
Hmm. Yeah,
But what are
it's
your
been a rough start for us.
Yeah, what are your impressions of the first 4 games that we were swept?
My impressions is that my impressions are that
Are
uh
that my
uh,
impressions is
my
we was
impressions
that
is that we was
yeah.
you know
So what are your impressions thus far of our performance in the season?
we let 3 of our most important bullpen pitchers walk, and it's hurting a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
that's
and
our
I
big, well, and we're not hitting very well, but I
listen.
think
Okay,
I think you and I
keep going.
talked about this. I think you and
We
I
did
talked about this, that other than like one game against the Yankees, we scored enough runs to win those games.
exactly. That's a,
And somebody in the bullpen blew it every single time.
I'm not saying that you have to I mean, obviously, it would make me feel better, but I'm not saying that you have to lights out pitch, okay, the entire game, like just shutouts. Like, I get it. Your pitching staff is, I think they have the right to give up a couple of runs, if not 3 a game. That's fine. And in almost every single one of those scenarios where it's justified to give up to, somebody's gonna, like, let's say JV's on the mound, like, there's a dinger or two possibly,
Right.
right? Those plus your relief staff over a couple of
Yeah.
innings, they give up a run. Okay. That's three to runs that every game is justified as a pitching collective.
Yeah.
We are putting up more than enough runs to cover that at or around enough runs to cover that 2 to 3 run give up. And but we're giving up significantly more than that. Like, people, like, when you keep saying, and I've heard other people say it too, like, bats could be better. Obviously bats could be better. However,
Yeah.
we're not putting up goose eggs or
No, yeah.
getting 2 hits over 9 innings. Like, we're putting up 4 runs. We just fall. And honestly, starting pitchers have ERAs are pretty nice.
Yeah, our
It's the
starting
freaking
ERA. Well, I mean, listen, very small sample size. Obviously, it's 4 games into
yeah.
the season when we're talking about this, but our starting pitching up to this point has like a 2 point something ERA, which is not bad at all.
No.
And our bullpen has like a 7.9 or
17?
something. It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It has not been good. The thing that's been bothering me the most is, you know, obviously not like diehard baseball fans or Astros fans in general, but uh, people have been calling for like saying like, "What is Espada doing, dude?" And everyone's
Oh yeah.
we're all like, "Hey, man, it's kind of not his fault, you know. He's putting in the right guys. They're just choking. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?"
Oh no, I agree. I mean, honestly, and I think he's done some creative stuff. We've talked at links about this off pod, but he's done some creative things with batting lineup, which I think will be fruitful if we can just have. Normally it's the other way around. We're lights out pitching. Like, let's say the past couple of years, right? 3 years or
Yeah,
so, we've been lights out pitching, and we're like, damn, if we could only put a run on the board. I
yeah.
think we're in the opposite position right now. You know what I mean?
Now we're putting runs on the board, and our pitching's falling behind.
Also putting
Putting
runs on the
runs.
board.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Uh,
at a ridiculous rate for our competition. Um, I still feel we actually talked about this off pod too, but I still feel just as confident in this season though as I did before opening day, even though we
oh
just
yeah.
lost 4 games straight,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's a painful way.
There was a bunch of Yankees fans on. Listen, I get
Yeah,
the the
to the Yankees nonetheless. But go ahead.
the whole fun part about baseball is talking crap back and forth. I'll never
Mhm.
get mad about that. It was just funny to me that because there was a Yankee fan that was like, "Oh, it must be crazy," or I couldn't imagine starting at my season 0-3, like joking around,
Yeah.
and one of the Astros people commented back and was like, I'll trade a 0-3 start to opening day as opposed to an 0-4 result in the playoffs though. And I was like, ooh,
Mm,
that's true. That is true. But no, I
that
mean,
is.
listen, this is the beginning of the season. We always start slow. Obviously, never this slow. Not since like the 1960s or something, they said. Is the first time we've started a season getting swept in a 4 game series, which is not fun to sit back and watch. But no, I'm not any less confident by any means. We're going to be okay. Things are going to come around. It just sucks to come out the gate like this after waiting for freaking 5 or 6 months that it's been. Sitting here
Yeah.
waiting for the season to start, and then you get all excited. You get your pregame beers going, get a little buzz going in the first inning. Your team puts up some runs, and then right when that buzz starting to hit its peak, crap
Well,
the
dude,
bed. You know?
so here's the other thing too. I'm not saying that I would change it, right? Because this is the way that it's playing out, and it is what it is. You got to take the good with the bad. But one thing that's been even more heartbreaking is every single game in that opening series. Bro, we started out. I'm like, fuck yeah, here we
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
And so, and even after
Yeah,
losing the first one, like game two, no, I didn't watch game two because it was on like,
it's
well,
on
we'll get
Apple
to that in a
TV.
minute. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But so like even game three, I was like, hell, like after having two already lost in the bag, still it was like fourth inning. I was like, oh yeah, 4 runs, baby. This is solid. And I'd be damned if it didn't happen again. And then turn around and yesterday,
It
same
happened
exact thing.
again. It
And
happened
so
again. Yeah.
so to have that buildup of confidence of like, oh, okay, now we got our stride. Like that's why I'm still a little uneasy. I know that things are looking good
Oh
right
yeah.
now, but like, did we hit our stride? I can't say that until it's like, I don't know, the middle of the eighth inning. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, even now, I mean, yesterday, freaking Hater blew the game for us yesterday. So even now, I'm like,
exactly.
oh man, come on. Um, no, yeah, it's oh god, it's been so frustrating to watch that, especially in the one on Easter Sunday too, because we fought back and took the lead back, and then gave it back up again. But listen, people, well, Astros fans don't want to hear it, but the Yankees are a different team this year, and they're going to be better. And I think they were really hot in spring training. They were putting up crazy. They had some. They had like their second game of spring. I mean, obviously it's spring training. I get it, but their second game of spring training, they scored like 25 runs or something. It was ridiculous. And
Well,
Juan
here's the
Soto
thing.
is a freaking Astro killer. Every single time he steps in the plate, I get nervous. My butthole puckers a little bit, and I don't want to move. You know what I mean?
Don't forget that appearance in the World Series when it was his 21st birthday.
Oh
I
no
mean,
no
dude,
yeah,
you'll
we,
never
we
forget
couldn't
that.
believe it. He's so young. He was so
So
young
young.
in that 20
So
in that
young.
in that yeah, he was 20. It was he had just turned 21. Yeah, that's what it
That's the
was. Couldn't believe
first,
it. Joe Buck
first,
could not
last.
believe that.
That's
That
what I was
was
gonna say.
insane.
This is gonna be my first, last, and only callback to anything that's ever come out of Joe Buck's mouth. But yeah, so he is an Astros killer, but also I would say this: I just wouldn't have expected a four. Like I would, yeah, let him. Not let them. Not that we would let them. Obviously, we'd let them beat us 4 times, but I would say pick off. I figured we would have split some of the games throughout the series. Shit,
Yeah, it was just
like
we had
because
some
there's
things
not.
not go our way.
I get it, but there's also not drastically on paper and even performance that big of a difference between the Yankees and us starting this year. In fact, I would say that I feel more confident in our group, but obviously I wear an
Yeah.
orange jersey a lot more than I do
Well, I think
a Yankees.
the baseball people in general feel a lot more confident in us than the Yankees too. But that just sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, right? You can, I mean, even
That's the way.
yeah, and I mean it is. We had the stats. I think I saw a thing that like there's so many freaking new stats now, right? We got expected batting average now, and like everything that we hit, we had a higher expected batting average on all those games on that series, and how many runs did we get outscored by? Freaking 10. You know what I mean? I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But it just sometimes you get those little bloopers that fall in for you, and that's what was happening for the Yankees, and so that's how the game goes, man. You know, that's
One other
baseball.
thing one other thing I would say too is like, or I guess one other question that I had was what not just obviously that baseball's on, but I feel I'm not saying that like I drastically changed my lifestyle, but like what else in this time of year or now that baseball's back on is different in your day to day schedule? I'll give you an example
Mm.
of mine, but I want to ask you the question first.
Ooh, I don't. I mean. it goes. I go from having my entire day planned around like something else I'm gonna do, right? Or like I have a
Yeah.
schedule that I stick to for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
and once baseball season starts, that's completely ruined
Yeah.
because it's if it's a 7 o'clock game, that's fine. My schedule's pretty much normal in that case. But like these games that go at like 1 or 3:10 or whatever, right? I'm like, all right, well, I got a couple hours of work I can do before the game comes on, and then I got to really buckle down after the game. You know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah.
taking that 3 hour gap. You know what I'm saying?
So so obviously I don't necessarily have 100% that luxury, but I do still watch them obviously if I can throughout the day.
Yeah.
Um but the other thing is I feel like other parts of my life get more productive because I'm a better planner because I have to plan around that. All
Yeah.
right?
A hundred
And
percent.
and two examples that I give. One, I cook all the time. I love to cook, right? So it doesn't really matter seasonally. But I'm always cooking. But if when baseball is happening, I I'm a lot more regimented in like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to prep between 6:45 and 7:30 a.m. because then I've got to get on the phone for work, and I don't have a break between 1 and 3 where I can run in there and do something because I'll be either game will be on or I don't have the time right afterwards because then dinner will be late and it'll push into the game. So like
Yeah.
I'm just more specific with like prepping for dinner. And I'm talking days in advance too. I'm like, I better thaw the chicken now because in the morning I'm gonna want to prep it and then yeah, right. So like
Yeah.
that gets more efficient. Same with like outside chores, right? I'm just like, ooh, I better go ahead and today's Wednesday. I better go ahead and knock this, and this out so that like after work on Thursday I could do this and I'll be ready in time for the 6:10 game. Except, oh shit, we're gonna be on the West Coast, so I've actually got the extra hours. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that. It's
Oh
so
yeah. So
weird
you
to
because you
me.
got to plan for traveling too. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh no,
Exactly.
you're talking about for them traveling. I thought you were talking about traveling for work.
Well, both. So
Yeah.
like if yeah, but like when they like I used to hate West Coast games. However, I like them a little now because I can just have a regular day's routine. I don't have to like hustle and get things done to be ready
Yeah.
for, a 7 o'clock game. It's like I have till 9. But yeah, and then with travel, obviously, too, I get to catch some games like an hour later or an hour earlier if I can catch it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's obviously mine isn't with cooking or anything right now, but it's with taking notes for school and doing schoolwork, you know.
Right.
So I'm waking up and I'm like, all right, well I'm probably gonna be pretty busy on Friday. So I got like 4 days here. The games are gonna be late night games. I'm just gonna have to squeeze it in, man. I gotta squeeze it in all during the day. Here we go. No
And I'm
nighttime
not
work
a,
for me.
and I'm not also a big like we don't necessarily go. I don't really like to go out to watch the games. Like maybe if you get a group
Mm,
of people together, maybe. But like I'm not a big
yeah,
baseball to me isn't like when I was really into football when it's like, hey, let's hit a beat ups and have a bunch of wings and watch the game. For baseball, I kind of like it to be in the like in the comfort of my home, I think. And so we even plan that around it too. I'm like, all right, well, if we can get done, this is a late game, we can go ahead and run the kids to food. We can eat somewhere, be home, jammed up, and ready to go down before first pitch or something like that, you know?
yes, yeah, I agree. I do agree. I very much agree with that. Where like I want to watch my baseball games at home, preferably. I'll go out and watch, like you said, if like I'm with people,
Yeah.
uh, hanging out, whatnot. But I think the difference with baseball and football in that sense is, at least for me, I've never gone out and watched like a 7 o'clock football game out in public. Like I've never really done that. Like if I'm going out to watch
It's a
football,
day game.
it's
You're
a
right. It's a noon
noon
game.
game, and I'm getting like wings for lunch, hanging out. And I
Yeah.
think I would do that for baseball. Like I would go for like a noon game, but the problem
Mhm.
is I feel like a lot of noon games happen during the week, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, every
Just
now or on a freaking holiday like Easter, and you can't really go out anyways. So
I'm just gonna yeah, on Wednesday I'm just gonna get down 20 wings and
Oh yeah,
4 pitchers of beer on a Wednesday
with the boys on
with
lunch
the
break. You know
boys.
what I mean?
Yeah, because you also have to have those stars aligned. But that's a
Mm,
good point. Also, too, man, and it doesn't necessarily have to be at my house. Like I'll go to somebody's house and watch it, but I think it's because I you know everybody like for football everybody experiences the moment the same way. I'm not getting too like sappy eyed here, but I think with football, everybody's experiencing the moment the same exact way. Whereas
yes.
with baseball, I don't think I don't experience every single moment of it like anybody else, Joe Blow, that's at the bar or whatever. Like if it were me and you, the conversation we would be having or the way that we're experiencing it might be similar. But I don't think I share that with like everybody that's passing around pitchers. Now,
Yeah.
I've done it like World Series wise, like especially being on the road a lot. I'll find somewhere to watch World Series games, but then you're all in it because there's like true shit talking or there's true like history or there's you're just doing it. People that don't even obviously at that point,
Yeah.
people that don't even care for baseball are committed to it. And so then it's a different experience. But like for
Mm,
just regular season games, I would much rather watch them at a close buddy's house who sees baseball the way that I see baseball, or at my house doing my own thing.
yeah. I'll give you another reason. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Football plays one game a week, man. Your team
Oh
plays
yeah,
one
you're
game a
right.
week, so when you go out, you usually when you go out, you're with a bunch of your fans, right? There's a bunch of your fans there.
Fans.
Well, look, your team's fans, like
How trippy would that be though if your fan club followed to watch you watch the game?
yeah.
All
And
right.
we're just like, yeah, Randall, woohoo!
He's watching so well. Look at how
He's
well
look
he's
at how
watching.
concentrated he is. Uh,
Didn't even miss a beat during that last commercial break.
but that's kind of just there's one game a week, so you go out and watch it. I still prefer to watch football at home also, but you go out and watch it. It just seemed like a more of a thing to do. And for baseball, it's like, oh well, I'll just stay home and watch it like I usually do for 5 days out of the week because they play freaking
Every
every
single
single
day.
night. So I think it's a little bit different in that aspect as well.
One other thing too, and I feel like like obviously I'll watch like this like Sports Center or like highlights or I'll catch it in some type of social feed or whatever the next day. But I feel like with football, most people are watching games that they aren't even like, here, like you're gonna have a bunch of people watch the Texans game, but like also every single week they're gonna watch the 3:20 game. And
Yeah.
then they're also watch the 7 o'clock game or whatever, right? I
Yeah.
feel like with baseball, I don't do unless like it's later in the season and we're really looking at standings, or if like just one player who was with our franchise or whether I liked them or not was like on a real hot streak or doing very terrible and I wanted to like relish in that, then I would watch other games. Other than that, I'm pretty much only watching our games because there's one every day.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
Exactly.
watching another game in the same day because I've already, first off, like I just explained, built my entire day around
Yeah.
that one particular period. I can't do that for 2 games. And
No.
because there's a game of my team every day, I don't necessarily need to go out and fill the void, the 24-hour,
Right.
20-hour void of another baseball game.
I don't need 70 screens with different things going on to fill my watching need because I'll just get another one tomorrow.
Exactly. Also, I don't play I have a couple times, but like I don't play fantasy baseball, so it's not,
Yeah. That's
back
what
when
I was going to
back when
bring
I
that
was
up too.
back when I was really really into football, it was because of fantasy. I mean, I would literally watch every single game if I could just so that,
Yeah.
your shit talk was at level 10 week after
Mhm.
week. But with baseball, I don't do that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say too is you watch all those games because you're trying to keep up with your players a lot as well on your fantasy team, but I mean, there's a lot of people that do play fantasy baseball. I don't. I've thought about
Yeah.
it, but I think fantasy football takes a little bit of the joy of football out of it for me. Like it takes a little bit of
Yeah.
that joy I get from watching football away because especially when like my team is playing against a player on my fantasy team and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I really want that player to go off, but like also I want the Texans to win. So like
Yeah, one of
I
those.
get really conflicted, and like for baseball, I don't want that. Like I don't want to draft Aaron Judge and go up against the Yankees and be like, "Come on, Judge, hit a dinger, brother, do it." Like I'm never
Yeah,
gonna root for that ever. I don't want that to
I,
happen.
I don't know exactly how all of the specifics work with fantasy baseball, but I would say, yeah, I would find myself more often than not in that, like, I need Tom Brady to throw for 1,000 yards, but I also have the Texans defense. Like one of
Yeah.
those situations. I don't want to. I feel like I would be in that predicament frequently with baseball. Again, I don't know how the
Mm.
teams work, but um, yeah, I don't want to put myself in that. Plus, I'm not just as familiar with the scoring, and then I would feel. I think I would get burnout. Like with the NFL, like you said, I mean, there's like a couple games a week that you would have. Like I don't know, you got to tune into all of them, but it's only a couple of days. Whereas with baseball, like if I really got addicted to fantasy baseball, I would have to watch so much baseball
Yeah.
because there's already too much to be consumed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's 162 regular season games for every single team. That's a
I
lot
know.
to watch. That's a
You'd go
lot to
broke
watch.
just You go broke just finding all the fucking streaming services to watch it. Okay, so this is a point we got to go back to.
So yeah, well, this is what another
Yeah,
thing I was gonna bring up, right? Is
yeah,
right before we can kind of segue into that because baseball, you know, will black out a few games here and there, right? They do it quite often, but there's 162 games,
yeah.
right? So fractions of what it feels like that the freaking NFL does. So I feel like when
Oh
you
yeah,
go out to watch football, you're like grabbing all you can as well. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because they're going to be usually places that have football on out have like the blacked out stuff as well because they have like red zone or whatever, right? So
Well,
they're getting all
that's
the games.
that's very interesting. For a period of time, I did a bunch of I don't know what this was like pre cut the cord, I think. But
Yeah.
everybody was like, there was a movement right before the old cutting of the cord where everybody was just like boycotting DirecTV. I think it was when like AT&T bought DirecTV. I don't remember exactly, but it's just like I remember banding together in an unknown band of brothers of just like, hey, we're sticking it to the man and we're not buying cable anymore, which meant that we had to be at a bar every Sunday, which is fairly convenient. But we had to be at a bar every Sunday to watch games because we didn't pay um for
TV
cable.
to watch
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so that became a thing. I mean, we would literally just collect in random locations to watch games because we weren't paying for TV. So it was a double whammy.
Hmm.
Obviously, you can't do that with baseball because that would just be living it somewhere else
Yeah.
to watch the 5 games a week. But this is what irks me, and it's happening with the NFL. You're talking about with blackout games, but think about the first 4 games
Yeah.
of this season. Okay, obviously, Space City Network. We get our first game on that.
Yeah.
Why are we letting Apple? This is a hard line, dude. This is like, I mean, Amazon's pushing it too. Okay,
Yeah.
why are we letting Apple TV buy one game? I know it's money, right? But why are we letting them buy the rights to um a prime times baseball game once a week? I don't care if it's one. And the argument to be made is, well, there's a shitload of baseball games. Okay, that's great, but not my baseball games. Why don't they pick
Yeah.
somebody like irrelevant to what? You know what I mean?
Well, here's my 2 cents about it, I guess, and you know, it might not make sense contractual wise, but I think what should happen is every team has their own local channel, I think, except for like two teams or something that are televised nationally regardless, right? It's like the
Yeah,
Cubs and
Braves.
the Braves. Yeah, they're like always on national TV, but um every team has their own like home network that they're on all the time.
Yeah,
Unless there's a company like Apple, or I don't know if Amazon has done baseball games or not. I know they do football, but like a random company that buys the rights to a game like Apple's doing, right, every week.
yeah.
It should still air on said
On the
local
home network.
network. It should
Okay.
still air on the home network, but people that have Apple TV that don't have Space City, in the Astros case,
Yeah, get
have the
access to it.
ability to watch it. That's
That's
how it
nice.
should be. It should we
I
should
agree.
not The MLB already blacks out games for I tried to watch the freaking Rockies versus the Diamondbacks the other day on direct TV stream, and it was blacked out on MLB Network. And I was like, why is this blacked out for me? I'm in Houston, Texas.
Also,
This makes no
uh,
sense.
who are you hiding that from? The 150 people that planned on watching it?
Well, you know, the
No, I'm
Diamondbacks
joking.
made it to the World Series. Come on
No,
now.
I get it. I get it.
Uh,
I'm just saying, bandwagon city. But go ahead.
Listen, dude, listen. I got a buddy that's in the Diamondback system. Okay, I ride for the Diamondbacks.
I got you.
So
So yeah,
I was it was just weird because I clicked on it and I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch them, see what's going on. Also, maybe it wasn't was it the Rockies? It was whoever obviously they were opened up against, and they scored like it was the game that they scored like 18 runs in the first three
okay.
innings, and I was like, oh, of course, I wasn't able to watch that game. You know what I mean? They blacked that one out, and so like the MLB already does that kind of stuff. They do not need to be selling rights to have exclusivity deals on certain games. I just think it's stupid.
Also, too, I would like to know. I mean, again, maybe we're just holdouts because I'm very firm in how I let marketing dictate my decisions. Okay, I'm a real word of mouth guy at best. But what I'm saying is like, what volume of people are they bringing to Apple TV because of this little coup?
I can almost
Because
guarantee you they've sold no more memberships from that.
because here's what I did. Whenever
Very
they
little
started pulling
amounts.
this, they started pulling this shit. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was last year. Was the first
Okay,
year.
so I did what every other red-blooded American did, and the first time it happened, I was like, "Well, shit, yeah, I'll do the 7 day free trial or whatever."
Yeah.
Right, and then just never kept it on.
Yeah.
And then now I'm just like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna get in a text group with people that'll send me the scores, or that people that have like the upgraded MLB app that get the like live action shots or whatever. Like, I'll just wait for them, or I'll listen on the radio because there you still get radio coverage.
Yeah.
So like that's just what I'm gonna do. And it's not so much because I don't want to like watch the boys play. It's just I want to stick it to Apple. Not Apple, just Apple TV.
Just
Whoever's
Apple
running that
TV.
part of the org. Yeah, just
Yeah.
Apple TV.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I don't listen, like I already have Amazon Prime, so I get the Prime football games. You know, so that
Yeah.
doesn't bother me, but I also think that's stupid. Thursday night football should not be exclusively on one thing. I don't think it ever should have been exclusively on NFL Network either.
You know what's so funny about this argument though? Okay, I get it. Like this is a modern problem. Okay.
Oh, yeah. It
Right,
is.
but it is. But also, can you imagine back in the day, like when everybody was at least where we grew up, where everybody was bunny earing it, and they're like, "Well, not gonna watch this one because it's on channel 13 and
Yeah.
only 26 comes in solid." Why the hell
Yeah.
don't they put all of the Oilers games
On
on
26.
26 versus 13? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where
But
I'm
it's the
only
same
getting
thing.
channel two. It's
It's
the
just a
same
different
thing,
world.
it's just a different world because back then you were getting all that for free or at least for one base price. Now it's like, well, we're gonna cut these couple of channels and put them over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a modern thing, right? First world problems that we're over here just complaining and bitching about, but that's it's just annoying because let's also say though, right? TV is significantly more expensive now than it was back then. And
Oh
so
yeah.
like I'm paying to have this channel to watch. That's the only reason we have DirecTV Stream anymore because I want to watch the Astros. That's
Oh
the
dude,
only reason.
we have talked about this is how we live our life. Fubo gets turned on the last spring training day of the season, okay? And it stays on until the postseason. And during the postseason, I cut it off and I switched to Sling because Sling is cheaper and has
The channels for
has
postseason
yeah
games.
has the postseason games. And then as soon as the World Series is over, they get cut off again until the last game of spring training the next year.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
and so it for me that makes sense because that's just how I'm gonna do it. It frustrates the shit out of Katie because she's like, why do we pay whatever it is a month for baseball? And I'm like, because that's the only thing we ever use it for. The
Yeah.
rest of our world stays the same. It's all
Yeah.
YouTube, Netflix, all the other random stuff that we pay for, right? And I'm like, well, it's because, it's the guilty little pleasure. It's
Yeah.
because
Because
if I
it's
want to
worth it for
watch
me, I guess, you know?
at a minimum 1 hour to 2 hours of baseball a day, then that's what I want to do.
Yeah. yeah, it's worth it to us now. But back then they were just working them rabbit ears trying to get it to work, you know?
Oh yeah, but
That's the
I
that's the
also
definition. They were hey, they might have it might have been cheaper, but they were working a lot harder, you know?
oh hell yeah, you had the kids up there with the aluminum
You
foil,
got the aluminum
freaking
foil bending it all kinds of ways trying to get it to work.
the old. And I was a dream catcher guy. I would go
Oh,
aluminum foil up and then build me a circle. Back before you could
yeah.
buy the circles, because
Yeah.
the circle was the most efficient. You can't just have the
No, no,
ears;
no.
they got to come together. And then, if you're really good, you can connect them to somewhere high up, like like a door hinge or something, so you get that
Mm-mm.
extra carry with the metal frame
Yeah.
of the door.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, it's the little tricks of the trade. But
Yeah.
one last thing I would say is that I can almost guarantee you that back then, unless like you had a job where you were just in the city, or like maybe you worked retail or something like that, a lot less people were watching ball games during the day.
Oh yeah.
It's because access was limited. Like now, it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna be on a train. Fuck it, I'll be on a plane, and I'm like,
Hey,
yeah,
I
I'm
gotta
gonna go
watch it
ahead
on
and
my
catch that
phone.
baseball. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Let me whip my iPhone 13 out and or whatever it's
Yeah.
I don't know what the new one is anymore. 16.
I've got a 1 hour Uber drive when I land. I guess I'll catch a couple innings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like back in the day when they
I'll
were just like, well,
guess I'll
I'm gonna
guess I'll throw the mini player up on my computer while I do work, you know?
no. Oh well, I guess that was at one point. But I'm thinking even just slightly further back, like the mid '90s, where they just left the house in the morning with a lunch kit and just that's all they had. They just ate
Uh,
their lunch and then
I
came
guess
home.
I might there might be a chance during lunch I could catch like an inning or so in on the radio in the truck, you know?
Possibly,
Yeah,
possibly.
maybe. We'll see though. We'll see.
I'll go downstairs to make copies at
I mean,
2.
hey, there was times too where it was like night games and you had to go out to your truck to listen. I'll be honest though. I think there's a large majority of people that would agree that it might be the better viewing experience.
So I don't know if we talked about this on pod, but I'm telling you, man, that first, whenever I was still fighting with the whole, I'm not paying for baseball, and I guess I
Yeah.
shouldn't say this out loud, but I had exhausted every illegal means to watch
Yeah.
games. And it's not worth it. Like I've also tried to explain that to people. They're like, I don't pay for baseball. And I'm like, you say that now. And like 2 seasons later, I'm like, what are you watching that on? They're like, DirecTV, about to watch
Yeah,
baseball. And I'm like, fucking
Fubo.
told you.
Yeah, I got Fubo.
Um, but yeah, because it doesn't it's not sustainable to be ripping off baseball. But
No, it's too difficult.
um so I went through a period of time where I only exclusively listened on the radio, and it is still I do it occasionally. It's still the most exciting way to listen to a game. I like to watch, don't get me wrong, but I love that it keeps me um like especially if I'm in the garage doing something. Dude, I could be rebuilding a lawnmower, I could be working on a project, building something, I could be wiring something. It doesn't matter. Like things that require my attention. But in the background, I'm still listening and I'm still kind of tuned into it. And it helps me focus because I'm focused on that as well.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like at work and like I don't really okay, I guess I cheat a little bit. I don't listen to it unless I'm driving. I don't listen to it on the actual radio broadcast. I listen through iHeartRadio, but same
I
difference.
mean, it's
I'll
still
have it
radio.
but even like with the TV in the office, like I will sometimes have it on the iHeartRadio app, listening to it
Mm,
as I'm doing work, and I'm just a lot more in tune. This is a
yeah.
very good, they always say there's like a natural, like depressing, um, every human's wired to have a different season that is just more statistically depressing. And I used to think it was like cold weather because I just don't like cold weather. But I actually think that I've just now figured it out. It's just not baseball season.
Yeah.
That's my and so yeah, obviously weather is correlated, but like I'm just less in tune because I don't have radio playing the game in the background. I don't have something that I'm overly planning for so I can watch the game. Um
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just non-baseball season is my drowsy, not depression, but my drowsy season.
It can I would say it's more depressing than drowsy.
I mean, yeah, but it's not
Can't
like
really
where I
go
just
out
shut.
can't really go outside comfortably. Not that we can really
Oh
do
yeah,
that in Texas at any point in the year, honestly, but
yeah,
can't really
but
go outside comfortably. You got to stay inside all the time and you can't even watch baseball. Come on, bro. Get out of
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
Um,
it's not great. But
no.
the
Like,
radio listening experience is great though. Uh, I mean, even like there's times too where like when the season starts, I'm really pumped up and I'm watching. Um, but when we get to like that middle part of the season where I'm starting
yeah,
to get like
80 or
worn out a
so.
little bit, and like it's before we get to like the part where it's getting exciting on like where people are going to be playoff standing wise, we're just kind of in that lull of like there's like 30 or 40 games where it's just like a lull of yeah, I'll throw it on. I'm just kind of listening in the background and that's really all you need anyways. I'm listening now.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to the radio in that sense, but I listen to like the TV broadcast and I'll just turn it on and have it on in the background while I'm doing other stuff, you
I'll
know.
tell you what, what's more like, when is the last time you listened to a radio broadcast with someone else?
Oh, no, that's been a long time.
Because that changes the experience too. I mean, normally it's me solo because like I'm in the garage or I'm like I said, I'll put it on during the day or something. But just do yourself, and this is everybody's homework, right? That for this week is get a couple of your boys together and throw on 790 and
Yeah.
just list, or I guess 94.5
Or
HD2.
whatever your local baseball
Yeah,
sports talk channel is.
yeah, whatever it is, throw it on and um listen to the broadcast with a homie. You know what I mean? Because it is
Yeah.
different. You just still crack beers, you can still bullshit, do all the same thing, but it's a different experience because you could, the suspense builds, but it builds in their face as well. And you're like, oh shit, he's hearing
Yeah.
it before I'm hearing it, but we're hearing it at the same time. It's
Yeah.
just I'm going in slow mo. Maybe I'm a
Yeah.
couple more bush lattes deep. You know what I mean?
Couple more deep, yeah. Yeah, I haven't done that in a long time. That's a different experience for
It's
sure.
a game changer, man. Game changer for sure.
Yeah. Um all right, we got one more thing we can get into real quick.
Okay.
Is there anything else you think other than baseball that could be considered America's pastime?
Okay. So, uh, are we saying that baseball is no longer? Well, first off, let's answer this question. Are we saying that baseball is no longer America's pastime? Because there's a bunch of people that try to push that agenda.
I still think it is.
Okay, I agree.
I'm just saying in the event that it wasn't or it never was, is there something else that would be more America's pastime than that?
So, I'm gonna make a weird correlation here, but for a while back, I had a group of friends where we would try to pinpoint the next Michael Jackson. Okay, and this was a little game that we would play, and I had some pretty hot contenders. Okay, that I thought were gonna be slamming until they hung it up or they got into trouble. So like JT was one of them, and then Bruno Mars. Like I just felt like if anybody
Yeah.
was gonna make the run, it was gonna be Bruno.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kind of pull a very similar mindset. Like a lot of people were like, "What the fuck, Bruno Mars? No way, he'll never be that good." Bruno's good. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna make the same
Yes.
correlation here. I think America's pastime could be if like it's gonna be like yard. I think it could be like a yard game if that shit, like if cornhole really starts getting their shit together and it's not just rednecks like that also own bass boats. If they were really like to buckle down and get off of ESPN 8 and maybe get to like ESPN 2, they could be America's pastime. Pickleball is taking over.
Mm.
Okay. Um,
But do you think? See, I think pickleball is more of like a fad.
okay, you think it's okay, maybe. But if I've learned anything, it's just how quickly can we set up gambling? The quicker you can set up gambling, the
That's
quicker it
true.
becomes
That's
America's
so
pastime.
true.
Okay, because if you think about it, like I mean, I love baseball for what baseball is, but baseball became America's pastime because based on stats, it's easier to gamble,
Yeah.
right? And so now the problem is now there's a lot more competition because people gamble on everything.
Right. Yeah. You
In
can
fact,
gamble on specific
highlight
individuals and whatnot. Also.
it's it. Yeah, we don't even. I guess we don't need to mix baseball and gambling right now. But anyway,
Yeah.
highlight. So did we ever talk about highlight?
Highlight?
I lie.
No, I don't think so.
Dude, oh my lord. We don't have time today to go through this, but you're going to explore this on your own, and it's going to fill you full of like the creepiest warm and fuzzies you've ever felt in your life. So, high lie, I like obviously there's probably some origin for it, okay? But you remember those things we would have at recess with the ball and the big ass scoop? Remember? There was like a blue one and a
Yeah,
red one.
yeah,
Yeah, and it had like a hook on it, and you would toss it and you try to catch it.
yeah.
All right, so that's essentially what highlight is, except instead of it being wiffle balls and plastic cups, it's like this wooden contraption that they weld to your arm, and you throw a ball that's like fairly hard, about 180 miles an hour
Oh my
against this wall.
God.
Okay, it's like wall ball, but with those big scoop sticks. Okay, long story short, I'm sure there's like a legitimate origin to this, and I think people probably still play it. But like in the States, it came here and there was like a group of like everybody needs to go do the research on this. I'm going to give you like the 30,000 foot like dime store novel version. It's probably more interesting than I'm about to give you. But there were some dudes that were like, "Hey, we're going to make this baseball basically. We're going to make it America's pastime." And you know why? Because we're going to allow everybody real time to gamble on it as it's happening, okay? And so they built all these random highlight places, and they started bringing these people over. I'm assuming from another country. Forgive me for not knowing exactly, but they brought them
Yeah.
over. It was probably like not like African countries, but it was like I don't know, France and shit like that. But anyways, they were bringing them over here, and they were building these teams, and people could like, dude, it was like there was like tickers that would run mid game as they were playing, and like you could place bets mid game. It wasn't like you had to know who won. Like you could bet on stats as they were happening, and your payouts were based on when you submitted said bet real time. Okay. And if this is not, they were racing to the top of America pastime, just racing. And then financially, something happened. I don't know what happened. Somebody got
Somebody
real,
landed a huge bet,
maybe, maybe,
broke him
but
out.
somehow money got crossways. I mean, this really is the American dream if you think about it. Take something, take it from nothing, build it up, allow people to bet on it, and then get kind of crooked sideways in how you pay your taxes or how you're making your
Yeah.
money. And then the whole thing starts to crumble. And so they kept dumping more money into it to kind of like keep it afloat. It's the American dream in a sport, really. And then uh yeah. So now there was like, I don't know how many of them are still there, but like basically overnight it just disappeared. And so there's like not hundreds, but I would say like maybe hundreds of highlight stadiums that just were abandoned. Like everybody just walked out and never went back. And like all the bet because it was the 80s, right? So it's like carbon copy paper and shit.
Mm.
But all things were just like left in the call booths, and like the
Oh,
courts
that's
started
creepy.
deteriorating. Dude, it is fucking like that's how we got down this rabbit hole. Like that's how I found this because I like to watch abandoned places on YouTube. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I immediately thought of.
so here's the thing. There's a bunch of different random ones. There's like mansions and like theme parks and stuff like that. But I stumbled upon this highlight one and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Like I kind of remember that from when I was a kid. Like it kind of makes sense. And then I went down a massive highlight rabbit hole. And like it might still be happening, but like the people that were trying to make it America's pastime obviously failed, but they were close.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
So I
Mm.
go back to say this. The I think whatever you can start betting on and making money on is what's going to happen first. I joked around and said inflation because that's really America's
Yeah.
pastime.
I
But
mean, do you know, is cornhole an American thing? Or did we just kind of adapt it, you know?
dude, Tucker 2 for 2. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Anyways, because listen, it's not like a sport or anything like that. Mine. Um, but I think that America's pastime is nicotine, brother.
Oh yeah,
We got,
that's
dude.
the thing.
Nicotine has been from the beginning in the original form of tobacco going in everyone's lip, and then they were like,
Oh,
"Oh,
bro,
let's figure out how to smoke it."
you are
Right?
right.
And then they smoked it, and then people were like, "Okay, Well, maybe what if we were like smoking it, but also like people didn't hate us while we were inside smoking it. So they're like vapes. Let's do that. And then people
Yeah,
were like, "Oh, but we don't really like want people to know that we're really like doing it, you know? We don't want it to like
yeah,
spit." So now we got these spitless nicotine pouches, right?
yeah,
We're doing all kinds of stuff to get the nick, man.
yeah. I that
Now
is a
you
good
now
point.
you can't bet on nicotine, but it's there.
I don't think you have to bet on it because it's a winner every time. You know what I mean?
That's true. There's no losing right there, except for
Dude,
maybe with
that's
your health, but that's okay.
I don't know, not the nicotine itself. Tobacco is a whole other argument, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I can't think of, people talk about other sports, football, obviously you can bet on that, things like that, but I just if the
Yeah.
football season was longer, um maybe. But I think that's what keeps baseball at the top of America's pastime because I mean it's 3/4 of the year.
Yeah,
By the
well, I
time you
think
factor in spring,
wasn't baseball like created in America though? Like I know football was, right? But it's like a shoot off of rugby.
well, yeah, but baseball is a shoot off of cricket.
You think cricket, so cricket was first. I mean, obviously, I guess it was first, yeah.
I mean, I would imagine baseball's super old, but that's also why it's America's pastime because it was like the first commercialized sport here. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
like not even, but like not even close, dude.
Oh, yeah, no, it's crazy.
By like 60 years or something.
People
You know what else
people
is
were people were playing people were playing baseball a lot earlier than they were playing anything else, which is kind of mind-blowing to me, right? Because like playing baseball takes a lot more setup than almost any other sport. Way more than soccer, right? Like way more than soccer.
what do you mean setup? Like because the build of the field, or what do you mean?
I mean, you gotta have. I mean, you got first off, you gotta have a baseball, right? You gotta have the
Yeah.
bat. You gotta have something to hit the baseball with. That's already two more things than you need for football, or one more thing that you need for football. For football, you need a ball. Okay, you need a ball
Yeah.
that you can
Well,
throw.
goalposts.
I mean, sticks.
No,
You
but I
know.
mean goal. Well, sticks, baseball bat.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm saying more or
Yeah.
less like to. I don't know. Anyways, you need the ball, you need something to hit the ball with, and then you need things to mark as bases, right?
Gotcha.
You need the freaking foul lines, which I don't know when that was really established for baseball, but you need the foul lines. For football,
Yeah.
you really need the out of bounds and where the touchdown is and a ball. For soccer,
No,
you need goalposts and a ball. That's what you need.
I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot more, but like you have to, you have to, like you forget too though that like it's whatever could be broadly brought to new areas quickly. Okay. And I feel like football, don't get me wrong, a lot of um baseball takes a lot of people, and so does like football, so does other things, and so does soccer. But like if you're drawing baseball, right? If
Yeah.
you're drawing away baseball, I think it's easier to communicate to people, in my opinion. So
This is
like
true.
you can draw baseball play because it's a slower paced sport, and fuck everybody who's like, oh, that's why it's boring. But like, it's a slower played game where there are very distinct positions and distinct offense and defense. And so you can draw a game real time as it's happening. Whereas with football, it's like, hey, let me show you what 9 people on each side are doing simultaneously at the same time in order for one play to happen. Whereas baseball, it's like, hey, ball is pitched and this
Yeah.
ball is hit into this direction, and this person catches it, and his first play, only play, is back to this bag. And
Yeah.
that's the play, cut and short. Whereas with soccer, there's like setups. Like I think it's just very easy to universally
That's
communicate it.
true.
Because
It's
because
throw and
it didn't
hit.
originate here.
It's throw
Yes,
and hit.
because it didn't originate hit here. It's so old that it came from the old country. So
Okay. We just
so
kind of
again,
popularized it, I guess.
well, yeah, I mean it's the same way with like Basketball, I don't think was invented here. It's just
No.
primarily it's got a bigger league here, right? Like hockey, Canadians probably,
I don't know, man. I think that's like a
Norwegians,
Russian thing, dude.
possibly. Okay, so either way, I don't
I
think
don't
we can
know.
claim anything. Like it's our pastime because we've commercialized it
Popularize it. Yeah.
yet again.
I think you're right
But
though. It's the simplicity of like being able to field a lot of people that can like go out there and just try to do it. You know what I mean?
yeah, and
You throw
you
the
can.
ball, you hit it, and you throw the ball around. That's what you do.
I'm gonna a call back to 2 episodes ago now. I think maybe sports, in particular, is a universal language.
Mm.
I
Yeah, it
think it
could
is.
be. It
Because
could.
if you can explain
Well,
it on
you
paper,
you can kind of explain it anywhere in the world. Yeah.
or you
Um.
can explain it the way the concept works, then people immediately will figure out a way to start bettering each of the attributes that make you
Yeah.
good at its functions.
I could take a picture, like a drawing that I made crudely of a baseball field to Japan, and make hundreds of friends as soon as I walked in there.
Easily.
Yeah.
And like I said, you could take one snapshot, or nowadays it would be a 5 minute clip of like the game of baseball, and immediately you can take it anywhere.
And they
People
would
that have
learn how to
never
play it or know how to play
they
it.
would they would learn how to play it, they would know how to play it, and they would also know to give myself the upper hand, I need to swing just a little bit sooner, or I need to
Yeah.
start moving just a little bit quicker, or I need to throw just a little bit faster. Like
Yeah.
that, it's a universal language. I think that's why it's America's pastime, because it's simple enough, but complex. It's complex enough to keep you interested. It's simple enough to grasp immediately the main concepts, and everyone instantly wants to be better or more efficient at it. And you can bet on
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's good.
it.
All right. It's time
So,
for us to get into WWYBDs here. Um, I have freaking no idea if I'm being completely honest here.
dude,
Do
this
you,
for
you
me is sorry. So mine's not like super intriguing. It's not a baseball beer for me, I don't think. Although super
no.
drinkable. I cannot stress that enough. For it being an IPA or even a double IPA, it is super drinkable. I obviously could feel it more than I would like to, I
Yeah.
think, only being two in.
Yeah.
Um, but it has a very good taste. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
We'll get into that when we get to the ratings, but my WWYBD, this is a card or domino beer for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
see that
Whether you,
100%.
whether you're outside, whether you're inside. I mean, obviously, if you're outside, you want it to be in a covered area with like a fan or something. But
Yeah.
it's a springtime, you don't want it to be too hot because I don't really like IPAs when it's hot. But it's a springtime, maybe fall Domino's cards afternoon beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's like a couch beer for me, like sitting, chilling. But that's much better. Like sitting at the
Yeah.
table, playing cards, playing dominoes. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense,
Where
honestly.
you're not drinking super heavy, like you're not just slamming them, but you're
No.
also not paying attention to how much you're drinking either. You know what I mean? You're just
You're
kind of
just kind of
doing it.
sipping. You're kind of sipping, and you might get like three deep and be like, I should probably switch beers now.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
exactly what I would
because
do.
I'm about. I
Things.
usually I've knock out both before the end here, but I'm probably about a beer and a half deep, and it's hitting, brother. It's hitting
Oh, dude.
good.
And the reason that I can see the whole dominoes slash cards thing is because like I would be at that three deep point and like my shit talk would just be extreme
Yeah.
to the point where like people are like, this guy, you know
And
what I
my
mean?
my
And you're like, yeah, I
moves
got
on
that back.
my moves on the table would start to get questionable.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
dominoes I'm playing would be like, ooh, I should have not played that domino.
Yeah, things get real fuzzy and like you make some mistake. You don't get caught at first, but you make a few
Mhm.
mistakes, you get away with them, but you're like, "Phew, that could have been bad."
Yeah.
And you start internalizing like I'm losing it. You know what I
I
mean?
need yeah,
Thank
I need to
God
switch to
I'm
Miller
driving.
or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that was much better than mine. All right, we can get in the ratings now. I'll go first for this one.
Go ahead.
Um This is a very, very drinkable IPA. It's all I don't know if I would say it's a good like entry level IPA, but if you like IPAs, it's a very solid one. And I think that if you were thinking about getting into the realm, maybe give this one a try if you want to, but there's probably some less harsh ones out there. Um, entry, entry, I have a 5. I think it's very, very solid on the way in. Aftertaste, I do have a 4. There's a little bit of a drop off for me only because I kind of get like a little bit more of like a liquor aftertaste than a beer aftertaste for some reason.
Yep.
It only happened a few times, but those few times threw me off a little bit. Body, I have a 4 as well, only because I think I've had a couple more IPAs that I enjoy a little bit more, but this one's still
Yep.
very good. Color, I have a 5. It's almost damn near perfect. A little hazy for it not saying hazy IPA, but good color, great head, like we said earlier. Bitterness, I have a 5. I like bitter in my IPAs, but I don't like too much bitter, and this is not too bitter at all.
Nope.
Acidity, I have a 5 as well. Uh, it's pretty much spot on, honestly. Could be very close to a 6, but again, I have one that I just think is my favorite still. And fizz, I have a 5. I've had a lot of burps. They've all been enjoyable. I have no complaints there. So my total's at 33. Definitely not a fridge sitter. Recommend again for anybody. Um, and I mean, I would buy it again for sure. So yeah, 33.
Yeah, so surprise, surprise for those that listen a lot, but yeah, definitely not a fridge sitter. I mean, obviously, I only had two of them, and I did go ahead and crush them. Regrettably, probably now that it's late. But anyway, so did go ahead and crush them. Super drinkable. Would not sit if I had more of them. I will purchase again. Not I would, but I
Oh,
will purchase again. And I would highly recommend them because you have those people that are just finding their way in IPAs. You have your people that love them. I'm not one. I'm not either one. Like I'll drink them, but I'm not going to usually go out of my way for this one. I think I would just because it is that drinkable and it hits the right volume for me in each of the categories. So rating wise, entry I do have a 4 and aftertaste a 4. It stays consistent. I think I've had probably better, but like it's definitely better than your usual. Body, I have a 4 as well. Again, maybe slightly below. I wouldn't tell everyone about it based on entry, aftertaste, and body. However, color spot on. I don't think it was like we disagree, but we still agree. We get to the same conclusion, but I don't think it was hazier than it should have been. I feel like there's no way to make a clear IPA, and in fact, I think sometimes hazy gets over marketed. Um, so I have color at a 5, bitterness I have at a 5, just because honestly, in my mind, I like my IPAs to be not as aggressive, and this one this like it sucks for its rating, but it could have afforded to be a little more aggressive, if that
yeah.
makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it could have hit a 6 if it had a little more bitterness to it because I was expecting a shitload and it was very, very calm. Same
Mhm.
with acidity. Fizz, I also have it a 4. Easily could have been a 5, but again, I lock in scores, so I come to a total of 31.
Mm.
Very solid beer. I was actually when I read the can before we started, we talked about this. I was like, oh man,
IPA.
son of a bitch. Like, I don't know the brewery. I don't know the branding. It's a double IPA. It's an 8.5%. What a ride we're in for. But I am the complete opposite end of the spectrum now. I am
Yeah.
very glad this is what we did tonight. Texas Leaguer is batting 1,000. All pun intended. All pun intended.
All intended, baby.
Batting 1,000, yeah. The 3 up, 3 down Imperial India Pale Ale. Highly recommend go out and get yourself one. I don't assign this type of homework very often, but yeah, go find this beer.
Yeah. If you're in the Houston area, I don't know if they offer it much other places. Like we said earlier, they're really new. So they're probably not many places, but you're in the Houston area. I know you've seen them in the stores if you're shopping for beers. Uh, obviously, if you're a baseball fan as well, get in there and try them. Cool branding. That's what got me. You know what I mean? Had a baseball guy on it. It's all baseball branded. I said, let's finally try it. I've seen it multiple times. I said I'm gonna try it. So get in there, pick it up, try it. Any of them. Let us know how any of them are. All right, we've gotten to that point in the podcast where I'm gonna tell you to go follow us on social media on X and TikTok at Off the Tap Pod, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Off the Tap Podcast.
I think I've come up with the official answer. So one more thing as America's pastime. One more piece of homework. America's pastime should be making America its pastime.